How would you handle a boss who is doing a great job, loves the mission, loves the organization, but they're just not interpersonally jiving with everybody else? What would you do?
Welcome to the art and science of difficult conversations. I'm Chris.
And I'm Lucy, and we love having difficult conversations.
That's right. And each week we'll either share a tip, hear how others have gotten better at difficult conversations, or demonstrate common difficult conversations and what to do and what not to do.
Let's get into it.
Welcome to the art and science of difficult conversations, where we believe if you communicate better, you can live better. I'm one of your hosts, Chris, and again, as always, I'm joined with Lucy. Lucy, how is this day treating you?
This day is treating me well. And I'm excited for our episode today. But before we dive in, how is this day treating you? You are 3 hours ahead of me.
Yeah, it was going well, and I need to start building in time for a nap in the middle of the day.
Oh,
A nap or coffee, but I think a nap would be better than
hmm.
coffee. But
Have you tried breathing meditation?
um, yes, but I think a nap would be really good too.
Yeah, sometimes I take like 15 minutes nap or 10 minutes. But then when I really didn't get my sleep at night, it helps. I set a timer and then 10 minutes
In
helps
one
me
job I had,
recharge.
we had a couch in the office, and
Oh,
I took a bunch of naps on that couch. It was kind of
nice.
nice.
Well, I have
Well,
a couch here too.
yeah. Well, you can jump
Benefits of
into
working
it.
from
Just
home, right? The
yeah.
bed.
Benefits of working from home. Well, today I've got an interesting scenario for us to think about. So I'm part of a listserv, and this is somebody that brought up a scenario that I thought would be good for us to talk about. So she asks, I would love to know if you have any employees that are good at their job but have serious interpersonal issues. We're a nonprofit, medium-sized music school, and we have a director that is very efficient and really cares about the vision and mission of the organization, but has become a divisive force between faculty, staff members, and leadership. This person is also fully focused on firing slash getting rid of two staff members that are also very good at their job, but not of their liking. So, very broad. Now, there's serious interpersonal issues, divisive force, but they don't really say exactly specifically what they're doing. But we've essentially know people like this. Everybody has worked with people like this before. A superstar employee, a superstar leader that's really good at the job, really great at their stuff, right? The technical aspects of the job, maybe, but interpersonally just is an issue, just either leading to more arguments or gossiping or bullying, or
Which
just in their haste to get things done, kind of rubs people the wrong way. So let me ask you this, Lucy. In this kind of scenario, I'm sure you've seen it before too. Why is this such a problem? Why does it become so divisive if you have somebody that's, even if they're good at their job, but their interpersonal stuff suffers?
That's a great question, Chris. And I would say because part of productivity is not just about getting things done, but also getting it done in a way so everybody can collaborate and everybody can contribute. And not everybody's style resonates with the person's styles, with this director stars. Seems like they are very focused, driven, motivated, but maybe they miss, my guess would be some social clues, or a
Hmm.
little bit empathy or patience for others. And so it reminds me of some clients that they're coming to session and saying, Lucy, I got a feedback from my director or supervisor that the employees are complaining about my style, that they feel I've been short with them, or they perceived, they got offended or hurt by my comments. And I just didn't mean even anything by that. I don't
Hmm. Hmm.
understand what's wrong. I just
Yeah.
wanted to get things done. So oftentimes it's not even that they would be intentionally trying to be rude. It's just not there on their radar of what's important. What's important to them is getting things done. But for the other people, that can create hurt, resentment, lower
Hmm.
motivation, and therefore it actually decreases also the performance of the company, of the team as overall. or people could
Yeah.
even leave the team because of a
Right.
manager. That's one of the
Right.
key
Right.
motivators for people. Why do they leave? Not just because of the money somewhere else, but also a lot of people leave because of their managers, unfortunately.
Hmm. It's so demoralizing. It's
Yeah,
so demoralizing if you have a leader that's just a complete opposite of you, not only complete opposite of you personality and communication wise, but if they don't realize it and they don't try to help you succeed in your role, they just keep trying to plow through no matter
oof,
what.
ouch. Yep,
And I think you're
that could
right.
be
Like
tough.
most of the time, I think we can assume most leaders want to do a good job. They're not there to purposely, make everybody's life worse.
Miserable.
Um,
Yeah,
I think, for any listener, will acknowledge there are leaders that seem like that. We are just going to work under the assumption that most leaders are deep down,
yeah,
they want to do a good job.
yeah.
And they just get caught up in the stresses of the work, wanting to make a good impression or wanting to
Mm.
build their own career. Um, these are all neutral things, whether they're good or bad. That's a different philosophical discussion. The point is, it's a
Absolutely.
mismatch between how they're trying to get things done and how it's received by everybody else.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And if you're this director's boss, if you're the VP or the senior director or the CEO or whatever position it is, what's the risk of somebody like that letting this behavior go on, Lucy?
Well, I would say there are lots of risks. There could be very demoralizing for everybody else. So they could lose valuable people. And what I heard from you, the director already wants to fire two people. So the
Mm-hmm.
wave out is already approaching, seems like the tsunami
Yeah.
possibly of people leaving companies could be caused
Mm-hmm.
by one person that doesn't get the feedback and therefore their behavior will never get addressed. That's one of the scenario. And then a lot of capable people will stay and maybe will leave. And those who will stay might be only the ones that maybe really want the job or need the job, unless it's really nonprofit or they really care. But it could lead to burnout or conflict, increased conflict in the workplace.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Let's say if they have similar style, so they could be shouting matches at one point, which could create
Mm,
even more
that's right.
stressful environment for anybody else who likes to have a peaceful, calmer environment.
Mm,
And have I
absolutely.
missed anything? Anything else that you would like to add?
Yeah, I think the biggest, I don't think you missed anything. I think the biggest thing is just that risk to the culture.
Mm,
One of my favorite leadership quotes is, what you permit, you promote.
that's a good one.
If everybody sees you as not addressing this and nothing changes, they're
Yep.
assuming that you're okay with this and you're promoting it if you're the boss of the boss.
Mm,
So then you risk, to your point, everybody either wanting to leave or just being demoralized. And
yeah,
I acknowledge not everybody can just leave their job whenever they want to. Not everybody has the flexibility to get a new job
exactly.
or whatever.
Yep.
So now they're stuck and they don't want to be there. That's the worst possible opinion, because now they feel like a hostage, and that's traumatizing.
It is, and it can have negative, even health impacts.
Mm,
Increased
yep.
stress, decreases immunity, increases sick days. I wonder
Yeah.
if there is a study done about, the toxic cultures and how many times people get sick. I need to look
I
into
don't
it.
know about how many times people get sick, but I just wrote an article and I cited another research, um, that 60% of people, only 60% of people report, uh, workplace bullying behaviors, either it's gossiping or bullying or harassment or discrimination, like any of those things, which means, like, that's an okay number by itself, but that means 40% of situations aren't being reported. That means people are
Yeah.
seeing things that they're not even reporting. um, and you wonder then why everybody's stressed about mental health
Yeah,
benefits, why people need more self-care
absolutely.
days, why this burnout epidemic is going on, because people are seeing bad behaviors and they're not getting better, they're getting worse, and they're just having to feel stuck with it because there's nothing else they can do. And so then that's just hard.
It is very disempowering, leading to burnout on many different levels. And then how the people show up in their personal life, if they're bringing also some of the stress, burnout to their personal lives and to their families.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
So it's not
So,
only an impact, sorry, on health, it could be also impact on their own family life
right.
and personal well-being.
Yeah. So now we understand this is divisive in some sort of sense. This is really not a good thing to let happen. Let's take a quick break and then let's think about how are we going to approach this. If you're the VP, if we're the director, senior director, if we're the CEO, whatever, and we got to address it, how are we going to dive in and address this? So let's
Sounds
take a
good.
break and we'll come back.
Hey, Chris here. I really appreciate you listening to this podcast. And if you are listening to this podcast because you're looking to get better at these difficult conversations, well, if you really want to de escalate difficult behaviors and you want to be assertive without being aggressive and being true to yourself, I have a self paced course that can really help you because I know it's difficult being assertive in lots of different situations. If you're at work and you have to give feedback, if you have to deliver bad news to an employee, or deliver bad news to somebody that you care about in your personal life, or you're struggling to deal with defensive or sensitive people who are pushing your buttons and you don't know how to push back. It doesn't have to be that way. There is a world where you can handle these tough emotions with confidence. You can speak honestly and kindly while you're still being assertive. And you have the ability to manage emotional outbursts and stubbornness calmly, because these are things that I've had to overcome and learn. And so this self-paced course goes through all of those things. I've created this trust framework that helps you think through how to prepare for and how to facilitate hard conversations. And you hear a lot of it actually in this podcast as I talk about how to handle difficult conversations in lots of different scenarios. Currently, the course is closed for enrollment. There's a waiting list. If you are interested in learning more, enrollment will open up at the end of August and the beginning of September. So please go to the website. I'll link it down below, and you can learn more about it and join the waiting list if you want to hear more about it. But I'd love to see you there.
All right. Welcome back. Welcome back. So when you think about when you're a leader, Lucy, or when you're coaching leaders, how do you think about addressing and kind of initiating this conversation?
That's a great question. So first, let's start with preparation.
Mm.
I
Yep.
would say preparation with ourselves, and not only what is it that really we want to share and what we want to get out of that meeting with that person, with the director, but also how we want to feel and preparing ourselves so we stay calm, even when the person, let's say, becomes defensive. What are
Mm.
our strategies so we stay calm during that conversation and are prepared for any different reactions from the person? Then also looking what would be an approach to open the conversation and have the person get their buy-in. What would be motivating for them? Why would they want to change if they would want to change their
Hmm.
behavior? How can we deliver the feedback so it is not about blaming, but really showing how their behavior is actually against that mission and can harm the
Hmm.
mission? It seems like they're really passionate about the mission and vision, and
Yeah.
they're a hard worker. So built on that, that would be some of my thoughts. Anything you would like to add to that?
I For the preparation, I would add get concrete data about what they're doing.
That's a good one.
Even a lot of the words that this person used to describe the situation are very abstract.
Mhm.
They're divisive. They're
True.
interpersonal conflicts. That's super subjective. People can interpret it however they want to interpret it. It's really more important to find and be clear on specific things that this person is doing, concrete. The more you can be concrete about specific behavior, the easier it is to not make it personal. And it's easier to give that feedback because it's not you saying, I don't like the way you're doing this. It's really about you're yelling at people, or you're interrupting people, or you are uh you're pushing people. You're like physically assaulting people. Whatever it is, you're doing something
Yeah.
concrete, and this is the
Mm-hmm.
effect that it's having. And so
Yeah.
that makes a big difference, is moving away from subjective, like, I don't like
Makes
the way you're
sense.
doing this, or you're causing a lot of conflict, into what is this person exactly doing.
Mm.
That helps you, and that makes it easier for them to that makes it easier for you to keep the conversation on track and make sure that they can't squirrel away from trying to explain things like, oh, that's just that person's interpretation, or that's just that person's viewpoint. They just have it out for me, or that's why I need to fire them. This is why I want to fire them, is because they're
They're
too
against me.
sensitive. They're
Oh
against me.
yeah.
They're too sensitive.
Yeah, that's a good
So
one.
getting concrete as much as possible so that you can give that feedback and then have that conversation.
I like that. I That reminds me of the SBI feedback, kind of situation, behavior,
Yeah.
impact. It's an easy way to remember SBI and then followed by a question or a request.
Yep. Yeah. So then when you're in the conversation, what's your strategy? What's your approach there when you're in the conversation?
When I'm in that conversation, what's my strategy? Asking questions. Uh, I would say my coaching
Yeah.
background might be showing up in that conversation, having a permission if the person is open to feedback first. Because if they're not even open to feedback, I can still give that feedback, but there might not be room for um, coaching unless the
Mm,
person is actually open to feedback and some coaching or brainstorming some ideas of what to do differently. If they don't
hmm
have the buy-in, the motivation to actually change, I don't think they're going to change. So in that situation, there could be also the person needs to share some boundary or some consequences if no change would happen. Something really needs to change
mm, yeah.
because that would have an impact on the company, and that could be very difficult conversation to have.
Mm. Earlier, you said, as part
Hmm.
of the earlier when you said preparation, you said you want to have the conversation and get their buy-in. What would you
Hmm.
do, or how would you get their buy-in into what you're talking about in the feedback and the steps forward?
That's a good question. What I usually say to my clients when they are thinking, okay, how do I get their buy-in? Be it from their employees, team members, or anybody else, looking at what really motivates the person. What do they care about?
Mm,
And how can we support them in getting what they want and at the same time adding what we want? So there's a win-win-win. So in this person situation, I would say what they care about, because from what the contributor said, they are really passionate about the mission and vision.
hmm hmm
I would say they care about that mission and vision, and they really want to achieve beautiful things with the music school. They want to take it somewhere, which is a beautiful thing to have that strong motivation to want to accomplish, achieve things. And so I would say their motivation is they want to take it further to the next step. And I would build on that and said, it's
mm,
there are things that actually prevent us from doing so. And would you be willing to hear
mm,
my feedback, my thoughts on that? What could actually help that person become actually even more effective and impactful as a leader
mm,
to fulfill his vision? I assume it's him.
yeah.
And so if they're open, yes, yeah, I am passionate. If they give me that yes, then I'm on the right path in a way. We are on the same page. We both
Right.
want, all of us want our organization to create an impact in case of nonprofit, right? And so, how can we actually make it more impactful, increase that, and decrease that divisive force that actually
hmm
is getting in the way?
Yep.
And once they are open to, my feedback, my thoughts, then we can have a conversation about and hearing their
Mm,
feedback. What
hmm
do you think of this approach? Kind of through their motivation, looking at what can we both align on in a way, some positive intention.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. Is you want to know as much about the person as possible. Like, what's their communication style also as part of
True.
that? Like their motivation, what
Mm-hmm.
motivates them so you can frame the outcome in terms of what something they want.
Yeah,
Um, and I would say also just the communication style. Do they like getting straight down to the point, or do they need a little bit of how was your weekend? How's life? Do they need a little bit of indirect approach to get into the conversation first?
that's a great point.
Um, because both matter. And so, what's their style and what's their? I would say their personal career motivations too.
Yeah.
Are they, yes, they care about the vision and the mission. They're very driven by that.
Mm-hmm.
But are they hoping to get to be CEO one day? Are they hoping to build their career and get to VP level?
Yeah.
Or do they not really care? They actually just kind of lucked into this other position and they're stuck. They're really just focused on making money so that they can, achieve their mission, make an impact, but also really they just want to spend time with their family or
Yeah.
have their outside activities. Either way is fine, but knowing which one they really care about, like if they don't care about advancing, then talking about like how it's necessary to be a CEO to be have these qualities, they're not going to care. It's not important to them.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's really about getting to know the person and exploring and really being present with them and listening for and being curious about what inspires them, what motivates them. Why are they in that position? Why are they in the company?
Yep, yep. And I would, if it was me, I would start with the feedback. I would say, listen, I'm noticing you're doing this, and I'm not sure if you realize it, but it's having this impact on blah 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
And have you noticed this? What are your thoughts? And then from there you can join in and start having that longer conversation about what
Makes
are their
sense.
motivations, what are they looking for, why are they doing this, trying to ask more questions and then
Mm.
delve into that. So it seems like we both agree or it sounds like what we're thinking is like there are
Yeah.
interpersonal issues,
Mm-hmm.
and the idea that they also want to fire these other two people. It's going to be hard to do it in the same at the same time. You need to separate them out, even if it's at the same conversation. As first we're going to
True.
talk about this and then we're going to talk about the firing or vice versa, whatever you want to do first. But
Makes sense. It's really deciding what we want to walk away with. Do we want to walk away probably with just yes to the feedback and yes to something needs to change?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's the first
What
step.
do you think are some pitfalls? What would you say, like, definitely don't do this in the conversation?
Definitely don't do this in this conversation. Well, the first easy step is just don't yell at each other.
Boom, episode over. Just don't yell, please.
um, and then also making it personal, making it just wake without any specific examples, as you mentioned before. Sharing, you always do this.
Oh, yeah. This is classic Lucy.
Chris, you always do that. Why do you do that? Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So this is what not to say. That definitely is not gonna probably provide space for any collaborative, fruitful discussion.
hmm
What would you say? Anything else that we haven't addressed yet? What not to do?
Don't rush the conversation.
That's a good
Don't
one.
have the conversation when you only have like 10 minutes to talk about it. Don't
Mm-hmm.
try to have this conversation if you know you're going to get a phone call from somewhere else. I think this is one of those things where you're trying to dig deep and they're not going to tell you the answer 2 seconds in. You need to
True.
dig a little bit and they need to feel safe to tell you what's really going on or why they're doing it, and be willing to have their mind changed overall about it.
True. So being mindful, what I'm hearing about setting the environment and creating the space for that and container for the conversation,
Yeah,
turning off the
exactly.
phone, turning off the distractions for both
Exactly.
people and checking with
Yeah.
both people that is it the good time actually to have the conversation.
Right, right.
Very good. Anything that so we covered what to do, what not to do. Anything we are missing here?
Oh, yeah, just the HR part of me is thinking, make sure you have a process in place where you know what's going to happen next, right? If you're
Hmm,
having this conversation, you got to know what's the next step if things don't turn around. So
that's
if
a good
you
one.
caught it early enough, maybe it could just be this is just a coaching conversation. We're just going to talk and we're going to chat and we're going to meet up again and talk about this.
Yeah.
But if you've let this go on for a while, or this is like the second or third time you've talked to this person about it, you're gonna have to be aware of like what that next step is. Like if this continues, we're gonna have to give a warning, or we're gonna have to put you on a performance improvement plan, um,
Yep.
whatever may be. And then the firing, getting rid of two staff members, I think that's gonna be the same thing. We're exploring, we're figuring out why,
Yep.
and just trying to talk them through that. Um, you're gonna have to, I think, you're gonna have to decide as a leader,
Mm.
what's your style. Are you gonna is your style, I'm gonna step in no matter what and stop you from doing this,
Mm.
or is it the decision is ultimately yours? I won't agree with it, but there's no like legit legal thing for me to like make sure I stop this. um you're gonna have to decide what kind of leader you want to be in that situation. Do you want to be, I need to tell you what to do, or I don't agree with your decision, I think it's a wrong decision, but I'm gonna let you do what you got to do.
That's a great question. And knowing what are the consequences of either of the decisions that we make.
Right, exactly.
What is the impact on us? What is the impact on the immediate team, on the company? What is the impact on the mission
Right.
ultimately and the culture
Yeah,
of either of the
exactly.
choice? What are we kind of role modeling for the other people by our behavior too?
Right. Right.
So it's difficult, can be a really difficult position to be in, especially the higher up, the more visible it is, the more people, eyeballs are on the
Mm,
situation.
yep.
There was another option that came to mind that actually I've had some clients that their company sent them to coaching, and that's
Hmm.
how I got to meet them. So I've coached some leaders that got that feedback. Um,
Yeah.
Luckily, most
How
of
well
them.
did
Go
they
ahead.
want to go? Like, did the person want to get coaching?
So there was a mix, especially if they kind of were had to get the coaching. It wasn't like, oh, I would love to have this coaching, but well, I got only got the feedback, and my manager said I should do this coaching. Then it's my job as a coach also to create that safety, especially if they already don't feel safe, or they feel resentful or upset at the beginning.
Yeah.
That might take some time to build the trust, so they can open up, so they can actually change.
Yeah.
I've had clients that at the beginning they're like, I don't know what this coaching can do, and then you know what? Yeah, that actually was really helpful. The most one of the recent cases when the client got constructive feedback, even by email, that she shared with me
Mm,
through from the manager, which was also that she should be more um, sensitive to other people's feelings.
mm,
And she got some realization. So she was open to change, even though initially she was quite upset and hurt. Seems like also the
mm,
manager either got the feedback or something really shifted
mm,
because she's now saying he's so nice now in the meeting. So the communication changed. So they
mm.
seem they are getting along much better. But it depends. It depends if me as a coach, from my coaching perspective, if I can create that safety, if I can get their buy-in. Let's say their manager doesn't
Yeah.
get their buy-in, um, and that is my everything is confidential. And for me, is the goal is so they feel whatever their decision is. If they say, I don't want to maybe even work with the company anymore, if they don't value me here, that's their still I need to respect their choice wherever they are
Yeah.
at. But even for internal coaches, that could be quite hot spot to be in.
Yeah. Yeah. I ask because I've never had good success with it. Like I've
Mhm.
been able to get them to trust me and open up and
Mhm.
make some progress, but it's
Yeah.
never worked out long term.
Sometimes, true, they have to be motivated to really see and be
Right.
motivated for why they do it even for themselves. So with some clients, we actually even don't work on the work stuff first. We just look at what's the
Right.
impact
Right.
in their personal life. And one of my very ambitious, driven clients that also he might get gotten similar feedback. He is sometimes very quick, too forceful, maybe sometimes perceived as pushy,
Mm,
not giving them enough space rather than asking questions, just telling people what to do. And with him, we work on how it's showing up also in his personal life. And because he also wants to be a father and a good husband.
yep.
And he's getting
Yep.
also some feedback from his wife, how that behavior also shows up in the relationship.
Mm.
So we start there rather than looking at the work because they're all connected. So that
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
his kind of motivation. So he's so far seems like he's really trying to make the change because he sees the
Okay.
impact on his well-being, his family.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I'll be
So
interested to see how this goes when we role play it.
so
Let's
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 see.
see how it goes. Um, let's take a quick break and then let's come back and let's role play. Let's see how it goes when you have this conversation with me.
Hey, Chris here. I really appreciate you listening to this podcast. And if you are listening to this podcast because you're looking to get better at these difficult conversations, well, if you really want to de escalate difficult behaviors and you want to be assertive without being aggressive and being true to yourself, I have a self paced course that can really help you because I know it's difficult being assertive in lots of different situations. If you're at work and you have to give feedback, if you have to deliver bad news to an employee, or deliver bad news to somebody that you care about in your personal life, or you're struggling to deal with defensive or sensitive people who are pushing your buttons and you don't know how to push back. It doesn't have to be that way. There is a world where you can handle these tough emotions with confidence. You can speak honestly and kindly while you're still being assertive. And you have the ability to manage emotional outbursts and stubbornness calmly, because these are things that I've had to overcome and learn. And so this self-paced course goes through all of those things. I've created this trust framework that helps you think through how to prepare for and how to facilitate hard conversations. And you hear a lot of it actually in this podcast as I talk about how to handle difficult conversations in lots of different scenarios. Currently, the course is closed for enrollment. There's a waiting list. If you are interested in learning more, enrollment will open up at the end of August and the beginning of September. So please go to the website. I'll link it down below and you can learn more about it and join the waiting list if you want to hear more about it. But I'd love to see you there.
All right. Welcome back to the fun part of the podcast where we role play and try to see what happens. So in this scenario, I'll be the director. I'll be Chris. I'll be the director. I've been working under Lucy for about a couple of years now, so I'm not new to her. She knows me.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say now that these behaviors have gone on for the past 6 months, or at least Lucy started hearing about it 6 months ago, but she hasn't had time to talk to me about it until just right now. And so
Alrighty.
we're just talking and just chatting about it. And
So let's see.
yeah, we'll go through
So let's see how it goes. This is gonna be fun.
it.
So we've known each other for a few years then.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
work well together. We
Yeah.
like each other.
Yeah. Good.
Let's make it a little
Good.
bit. We won't make it too difficult. We like each other.
Oh, it's so sweet of you. Want to make it easier on me. Okay, let's see. So, Chris, how are you doing today?
What's up, Lucy? It's a busy day.
I
But
know.
not too bad. Not too bad. I think we're getting things done. I think everybody's doing what they need to do today. So I got a little bit of breathing room, but
Awesome.
so many meetings today.
I get it. I get it. Well, thank you for making the time for the meeting today. And we're still good for about 15, maybe 30 minutes max.
Yeah, I'm
Still
still good.
time?
I'm still good.
Okay.
Yeah, what's
Okay.
up?
Perfect. So, I've been also crazy busy past 6 months. So I've started
Yeah.
hearing from people certain things that I wanted to address with you, but just to be honest, I also was all over the place. But
What do you
here
mean? What have you
I'm
heard?
back. So, Chris, we've known each other for a while. We work really well
Yeah.
together. And you know how
Yeah.
I appreciate you, and you're really focused on getting things done. And I love that about you. You're really focused on the mission, moving it forward, and I love that.
Yeah.
And
But
and I am hearing from few people in the company, I'm getting this feedback. they're saying, there were few times when they said, Chris keeps interrupting me. He just, instead of letting me finish, or I just sometimes want his support to help me brainstorm options. He just tells me what to do. And they want to do it, but they feel here I need to plug in some details that I didn't have time to think about. Let me think about exactly what they said because I wanted to give you a good feedback. Um, they're really saying, you're focusing on getting things done, but sometimes they feel rushed. They feel even disrespectful, disrespected.
What?
And I know that you don't mean it. I know you really care about them. So I
Well,
wonder if
who's
there's
saying
some.
this?
So I wonder if there's some miscommunication. I also
But
want to.
who could be saying that? Like I can only imagine it's got to be Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be Frank. Because I know I know I've been trying to coach them up because they've just been having a hard time meeting deadlines. They've been having
Mm,
a hard time staying focused. So yeah, if they think of it as interrupting, yeah, I'm interrupting them is because they go on tangents. They're just all over the place.
I hear
They
you.
need a lot more direction. So if it's those two, like, I can see why they may say that, but it's me trying to coach them. I'm trying to get them to perform at that high level so they can get done what they need to get done. Um, so yeah, so I don't know what else I can do if I'm trying, like, if they're not doing what they need to do, and I need to like get them up to speed.
You know what? What I'm hearing from you, you really want to get things done. And also you want to support them to perform better and to deliver
Yeah,
on time and
of
meet their
course.
deadlines. And
Yeah,
I
of
love
course.
that. And at the same time, it seems like it's not working as well as all of you would like it to.
But we're
Would that
meeting our deadlines. What do you mean it's not working,
Mm,
Lucy? Because we are meeting our deadlines. The work is to the quality that we need it to be, right? It's
yeah.
hitting the metrics that we need it to beat.
Hmm.
So it's working.
From that perspective, yes. From the perspective of their motivation, it's not working. They're feeling a lot of stress and pressure. And for
Yeah.
I get it that you can deal with your own stress and pressure and you are thriving in the high stress environment. And for some other people, that might be challenging to deal with. So I wonder if we could brainstorm, would that be helpful to brainstorm some other ways how they can be still performing at their best and also they can feel more empowered? Would you be open to
Well, I'll tell
discussing
you
that?
what. I mean, yes, we can talk about that, but one idea I had was
Uh-huh.
like I've already been thinking about this. I've started the conversation with HR. I
Hmm.
think we need to part ways with them,
Hmm.
um, with Rachel and Frank, because I'm just doing a lot of hand holding. It's just not working out with them. Um, and you're right. Like the motivation is an important thing. I get it. The motivation is an important thing. The hard part is we can't train people to be motivated, right? Like I can train them on the skills, I can train them on how to do the stuff. I just can't make them more motivated. So
Hmm.
I'm starting to think like, and I've started this conversation with HR, like how do we start thinking about kind of separating ways so they can kind of pursue their life of
Hmm.
happiness and whatever they need to do, and bring in people who are able to do what they need to get done.
Hmm. Well, I see that you really want to find some solutions, and letting them go is one. Hopefully, would be the last case scenario. And they are also really great performance. They've been also with the company for a very long time. And so it also is costly for us to lose them. So I wonder if we
Oh,
could look at other possibilities before we get there to really see what else we can do. I know you also have other meetings. So how about we schedule next time when we can maybe discuss one of them first and brainstorm some different options, what could be possible?
I mean, yeah,
What
I'm
do you
happy
think?
to chat. Yeah, I'm happy to chat. But I'm just telling you, I've tried almost everything with them. So yeah, I can meet up later this week on Thursday or
Perfect.
Friday. I have some time.
Okay, let's do Friday. What time would work? 1 p.m. I have open or 3 p.m.
1 p.m. is good. Let's do
Okay,
that.
perfect. Let's do that. Thanks, Chris.
All right. Cool.
Alrighty.
Thanks, Lucy.
You're welcome. So,
Lucy, how was that for you?
Oof. So, I had a hard time coming with the details for a moment there. And then I decided to go for a minimum viable win. At least it seems like that you agreed on let's have a discussion for what would be other approach. And actually, you were
Hmm.
open, at least from my perspective, to brainstorming some different approaches. So then I
Hmm.
would leave for our next call, really exploring what would be possible there.
Yeah.
Um, but at least I had my win from my side. At least was yes, we opened that communication. You were open. So
Yeah.
how was it from your end?
I didn't make it easy for you. I didn't make it easy for you. Um, I appreciate how you kept, uh, I don't know how to say this for the listeners because it's not as negative as it sounds. I appreciated the way you reframed what I was doing into a positive. Like what I was doing, everything I was doing, you reframed it into, yeah, it sounds like you really care about the products. It really sounds like when most of us are thinking, this guy's a jerk. What's he doing? So I appreciate that. Putting that positive spin on it takes it away from being an argument. I'm not, it's not an argument whether I care or
No,
not. It's
you do
or
care.
why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
So that was great, and I appreciate like the invitation to come up with brainstorm. Like, what else could we do differently? Like, what else? What else do you want to try to do? So I think that was cool. I would say and this is a style thing.
Mm.
You did a lot of uh, sharing about how nice I am and how great we work together.
Yes.
I'm gonna chalk it up to we've already like because we've known each other for a long time.
Mm.
I'm used to that. But
Mm-hmm.
if I'm not as familiar with you or we don't have these
Mm.
conversations very often like that,
Mm-hmm.
in my mind, I know it sounds like you're buttering me up to do something.
Oh, what does she want from me?
What does she want from me? Or what is she going to
Ah,
yell at me about, essentially? What am I in trouble
so
for?
like suspicious. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But like in this kind of
Fair.
situation, if we've known each other for a long time,
You're used to me.
I'm used to that, like
As
that kind
Lucy
of
does it
approach.
all the time.
You
Yes.
always do this. Um, yeah, you also did a good job avoiding like you always do this and that. And yeah, you had to come up with specifics because of the heat of the moment. But I think it was good to go over specifics. You didn't use the word divisive or communication issue. You just said these
Mm-hmm.
specific things you're doing. I think that's always helpful. The
Mm-hmm.
risk is I'll immediately say who said that and point out these two random people or one or two random people. That's always the risk.
Mm-hmm.
But you were able to keep it away from whether they're right or wrong about it. It's really about what I'm doing, and I think that's a good approach. I don't know if you got me on board to even realize it was a problem before you turned into let's think about solutions
Hmm. That's a good one.
because I was still like essentially blaming
True.
Rachel and Frank,
Mm-hmm.
and then you said, well, what else could we do? And so I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if I was ready to start thinking about solutions. I may have,
Mm.
if we weren't in a role play situation, I might have just
True.
continued saying like, but I don't need to do anything differently. They're the ones that are just not cutting it, and so I need to
Hmm.
like lay them. I need to get rid of them.
Hmm. That's a good one. So let's say you keep saying that, that we just need to get rid of them. So Chris, I'm thinking about the consequences here. If we get
Mm-hmm.
rid of them, what are the costs of for the company? And again, I think I meant I
Mm,
went there to really looking at, let's look at other possibilities before there. But you're right, I didn't address that directly. I went kind of around that to
mm,
let's look at other ways.
mm,
Um, rather than looking at what you are doing, what is the behavior that has the impact.
yeah,
For that, I decided to leave that for that session for later, where we would
yeah,
have more space to explore that motivation. For me, the
Right.
win was just to get you open to the next meeting, actually, when we focus on brainstorming some other options. But true, if
Mm.
you, that would be a different role play. If we can even try it, let's see if I can do it. Or what would work for you? What would you say for our
You know,
listeners?
I'll tell you, my approach is
Mm-hmm.
just seeing if I can get the other person to realize the way their approach isn't working the way they want it to 100% of the
Hmm.
time.
What would you say would work? What could I say differently that would have you realize that you
I
need to
don't
try
remember
something?
100% the order of the conversation, but I
Mm-hmm.
would say if the conversation went to, I can't teach them how to be motivated at their jobs. I'm
Yeah.
stuck hand holding them,
Yeah.
all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would ask, what are they motivated by?
That's a good one.
And I would ask, what other impact is it having if for you having to micromanage them?
Mm,
I think the questions
that's a good one.
we can ask that we have the opportunity to ask, I think we have the opportunity to bring in awareness. And I think that's the goal is bringing in awareness to the other person
True.
that there is a problem because they don't realize
Mm-hmm.
there's a problem right now. All they right now, they see like they see that there is a problem with the way
Yes,
the
with
other people
the
are
people.
behaving.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um, but to raise an awareness of the way I'm doing things, it can only
Yeah.
be done by asking good questions and
Makes
bringing that
sense.
awareness, right?
Yeah.
Like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how well is your approach working? Or how
That's a
well
great.
is your approach at is helping their motivation?
These are some great questions.
And then from there, let's say I think like a 7 or 8, like it's helping them a 7 or 8.
Mm-hmm.
Why not a 9 or a 10? And then I'm forced to come up with reasons why it's not helping their motivation, why the behavior I'm doing is not really
Mm,
supportive of them.
makes sense. Yeah.
But that for me, that's the minimum
That's
viable
the motto.
product in this conversation is like,
Mm, that
can
would
this
be your
person
win.
recognize that there's a
Mm-hmm.
problem?
Yeah.
From there, if they recognize there's a problem, then they're willing to talk about the solution to that
Makes
problem.
sense. Yeah. So my strategy was have them agree to the next conversation about figuring this out,
Yeah.
and then have the coaching conversation, and then ask deeper questions
Yeah.
where we have the
And
space for it.
right. And your approach would work too, as long as you know what the structure is. Like, hey, I also need you to, like, regardless of how we both feel about
Yes.
this, you need to do it this way.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's having this impact on, you're doing this, and it's not just these two folks, it's other people are noticing it, other
Yeah.
directors are noticing it, other VPs are noticing it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of kind of everybody's on edge around it and unable to really bring up issues to you or talk about whatever you're doing.
True. One other thought came up for me, and I didn't get to ask that question because I decided for a different strategy. But it seemed like
Mm-hmm.
when you mentioned we've known each other for few years, but it seems like this started happening like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
So something has changed. Could be just
Mm.
checking in. Hey, Chris, everything's okay. It seems like I'm looking at how have you
Mm.
been doing?
Yeah.
Any things going on in your life? That's why maybe you're starting
Ooh, great.
acting differently because maybe you have some family situation going on, and so
Yep.
really also understanding what's changed because past 6 months something has changed, seems like
Yep.
it, if this is
I
the first
think,
time we talk about this.
yeah, I think that's a good approach too. And I think that's the fun thing. Nobody else agrees this is fun except for you and me. That's the interesting thing about this type of conversation is that there's so many ways to do it, and not all of them are. It's not like that one of them are better than the other. They just have different paths you're taking, and
Yep.
there's 100% wrong ways to do it, but there's lots of right ways to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So like your approach wasn't bad at all. Like it works just fine for your style and the way and your personality.
Yeah,
The my style works for
could be
my
different.
personality, the way I do things, and that's okay. And
Does.
it's at the end of the day, it's really about how are we moving the conversation forward, and really it's about asking questions and being willing to being courageous to jump into the conversation, as opposed to letting it
True.
continue to linger on forever and ever.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right, to have a messy conversation than no conversation, and then having
Yes.
even more messier outcomes.
Right, right, right. So Lucy, what's one or two takeaways that you would give to people if they skip to the last 5, 10 minutes of this episode for for no reason?
So have courage to have the conversations. um, that
Mm,
would be one. And then two, preparation and trying to understand, listen to understand, not listen to answer or listen to judge, and
yeah.
ask questions. So I would say three. What are yours? One or two
Yeah.
takeaways?
I would say number one, go back and listen to the whole episode. I don't know why you're skipping to the end of podcasts to listen to this part. Number two, I think it is the preparation. I say specifically prepare that concrete data, the
Mm-hmm.
behaviors that you're noticing,
Yep.
that other people are noticing, and number three is ask questions. Spend the whole time, just not the whole time, but spend a lot of time asking questions and figuring out why this behavior is happening. You know, is it new? Is it something that's changed in their personal life?
Mm-hmm.
Is it, let's say I was new. Let's say 6 months ago you hired me and I've had these issues ever since you hired me. Is it just a culture change for me? Like I come from a
Yeah.
place where it's okay to have that behavior
Mm-hmm.
and I was successful and now that's not how it is here. That could be, right? And so, but you won't know until
True.
you ask the question and
Absolutely.
have it sooner rather than later. Don't wait six
Mm-hmm.
months.
Yep. Because the longer it is, the longer sometimes it takes to change it also.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, Lucy, thanks for setting me straight today.
Well, thank you for playing along and bringing this scenario to us. And if any of you has any scenario that you would like us to roleplay or discuss, please let us know. Send us email, send us LinkedIn message. We're also now on Instagram. Follow us, write us a review. We'd love to hear from you. What you like about the show, what you would like us to do differently, let us know.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Well, thank you, Chris.
Yeah. Thanks
This was
again,
fun.
Lucy, as always.
And we'll catch you next time.